we don't have a federal local police force. You know, we have the FBI and things like that, but they're more concerned about bigger crimes, not dealing with your everyday street crime. But now it seems like they're getting involved in that, and they want to be at least partially running and overseeing the Cleveland, Ohio Police Department. Where is this coming from? Is this Obama trying to get his version of the brown shirts out there before he leaves office?
Well said, Rod. If you look back, Hitler's brown shirts became the black shirts. I was in the occupation of Germany. I was there 30 days before. I lived and worked with German cops for 11 months. Anyway, it's Castro. It's Stalin with the Cheka. They were Stalin's brown shirts. Sure. Obama is dedicated to replacing local coppers with feds. How are we doing it? There's a $99 million facility in Georgia. Let me do a parenthesis. Please, audience, go to your search engine and look this up. Don't listen to me. Listen to Backpack a little bit. Please do your own research and find out what we're saying is fact. It's called a MOUT facility, Military Operations in Urban Terrain. He's taking all his DHS elements, FEMA, Transportation Security, the Coast Guard, Secret Service, well, on and on and on. Even NOAA, the National Oceanographic. The post office has 700-odd armed inspectors. He's running them through there for riot control training and detention camp incarceration training. This is fact. He continues to run them through. The thing has a subway, this facility. So he's assembling an armed federal force against the posse comitatus law to have federal troops or people enforcing city, county, and state laws. But he's doing this. He's being successful with it. Started in Ferguson, went on to Baltimore, as your lovely article we're blowing out on our magazine, magnifiedview.com, is doing for your lovely... That's what he's doing. So we've gone into an area we cops call de-policing. What the police are now intimidated with this ridiculous militarization of the police and all this nonsense. Backpack's got something to play for your audience here, Brother Rod.
Okay.
This is for all our proud men and women in uniform who are playing the soccer, supervising the soccer, and your next door neighbor putting on that uniform every morning.
Policeman. A policeman is a composite of what all men are, I guess, a mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact, and the fact is that less than 0.5% of policemen misfit that uniform, and that is a better average than you'd find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted, a strangely nameless creature. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions which would require months for a lawyer, but if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding. But if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless Seamus. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
What do you think, Rod?
That was a voice from the past who tells us the rest of the story. And I think he pretty much hit the nail on the head, and especially with the notion that so few policemen turn out to be bad cops, if you will, that the percentage is even less than what happens in the clergy, especially what we've experienced in the Catholic clergy over the past 20 years. Absolutely correct. I mean, these are people that even people who do not like them call them when they are needed. So it's a tough job. It's a really tough job. And yeah, we have to be vigilant to make sure that the so-called bad cops are found out honestly and then weeded out so that all of the rest of the good cops can do their job without fear of reprisal every time they do their job, and when they do their job justly and rightfully and legally. Otherwise, you end up with what's happening in Baltimore, in Ferguson. I mean, what do we want? Do these people, the people in these cities, do they want anarchy? That's all I can think of, because it doesn't make any sense in any other vein that they could possibly want something else. They say that they want peace and they want justice, but yet they go out there and they rob, they pillage, they destroy, they burn. And I don't know how they think that is justice. Maybe I'm missing something.
Observe that the mayor, with Obama's urging, turned Baltimore, as in your article, over into the Crips gang, the Bloods, and an Islamic gang. He literally turned over the streets of Baltimore. Backpack was in a copper meeting this morning, and he can tell you what's going on in and around San Diego here.
We have done a survey across the country on Obama's war on police. He intends to replace them with feds, and this is from a supervising agent from a large Midwest city. Numbers for all of our police academies around here are down significantly, and the recruiters are pulling their hair out. The senior guys who are eligible to retire are doing so. Even if they really want to stay, they're afraid of the risk to their future if they are involved in a perceived bad arrest or incident. I am glad one of our personal friends is glad that they're nearing the end of their career and not just starting out, because they can't think of a single colleague that they work with from any agency who hasn't expressed the same sentiment. No cop wants to stand by and watch something happen, but when measured against the risk of losing everything and destroying their family, if things are perceived as being wrong, or the subject makes false accusations which are assumed true and no one tries to disprove, what a crazy mixed-up place we have come to. So unfortunately, what's going on in the world or in the U.S. is just unbelievable. But we'll try to look on the bright side. Unfortunately, we're in this mess and this ongoing assaults on law enforcement. One of our really close friends we've had on Voices of Global Freedom many times is the great Lieutenant Randy Sutton, who was 30 years in Las Vegas, most decorated Las Vegas Metro Police Department, and he is the national spokesman for American Council on Public Safety, and please go check out their website. www.defendingtheshield.org. Great guy, and he's a great person to have on your show, Rod. A wonderful guy. He's doing amazing things to help the thin blue line.
That's it. Well, it takes a lot of work to do that, and these people do this kind of thing because they believe in the American way, and the American way is really about fairness and true justice. For the most part, I believe that most Americans still believe that justice should be blind. It shouldn't care what you look like. It can't see you. All it is because we're supposed to be a nation of laws, not a nation of men. And we see that things get screwed up when men start to rule instead of governed by the rule of law. Right now we have an administration that is trying to rule instead of govern by the rule of law. They issue all these caliphates, otherwise known as executive orders. They've had it's kind of amazing how this time around in his second term, everybody's kind of forgotten about all of Obama's czars that are still there and still quite intact and active. All of a sudden, you would think that they no longer exist, but they're still there, and they're the ones that continually advise him as to on executive orders. They're the ones that say, yes, you should do this. If Congress doesn't give you exactly what you want, then you should issue this kind of executive order so you can get more of what you want. And now we have a new attorney general that believes that she should do whatever the president says, not what the law says, i.e. the Constitution. I'm gonna back and run the department based on what the president tells me to do, and not what the Constitution tells me to do. They're open about this now. There's no more hiding it. There's no more backdoor type of stuff, or in secret hall or in secret meetings. They're out. She said it right there on the open floor when she was, when they were doing questioning her for her confirmation. She said it right there in the open, and nobody out there was like, trying to run and hide and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe." There was no facepalm moment. It was as if it was finally, everybody was saying, "Okay, it's finally out there. That's great. Now everybody knows." And they seem to be operating by the fact that nobody cares. I mean, am I perceiving that correctly, gentlemen?
Here's how it's working now, brother. Police respond to a crime scene. Backpack picked this up this morning. Now, in Baltimore, like your article, and up there in San Diego, we're at the border at the moment anyway. Police report to a crime, homicide, right, whatever crime scene, and they rope off the crime scene. Now, through telephones, cell phones that Obama gave them, they quickly organize like a fishbone, and 30 or more will show up. These are either blacks or Latinos or whatever we're calling them now. Right. Recently, at a homicide scene, about 30 showed up, standing outside the roped-off area, and didn't one show up with a pistol in his waistband? These are not the brightest bulbs in the tree. But at some point, as in Cleveland, I was a Cleveland cop 100 years ago. As in Cleveland or Baltimore or Ferguson or New York or San Diego, if they can orchestrate that it's this bad, that will give the abomination, however outside the law and posse comitatus, this will give him the ability to stick feds in. Does that make sense? I didn't pick up that piece on Cleveland that you spoke about earlier, the best location in the nation. But that's a bad sign. Where'd you pick that up, Rod?
That actually, believe it or not, came across my news feed via Yahoo News. And it was rather shocking to me early. It was one of the first things that came across early in the day. It was like late morning. And I had to read it twice because I didn't believe what I read the first time. And I was sure that, Yahoo made a mistake, but no, I read the full article and they did not make the mistake